You, Ben, for an exciting start to Nodes 2024 and for sharing your observations. Next, we'll hear from Sudhir Hosby, Chief Product Officer, who will share the Neo4j product vision and roadmap. Sudhir, over to you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sudhir Hosby. I'm the Chief Product Officer for Neo4j, and I'm super excited to be here at Nodes 24 to share our product vision and roadmap with you all. So the world is changing faster than ever. And I think if you see everything that's happening around the world, there are things moving faster and faster. One pandemic took down 2 or 3 years of our lives. There are multiple wars going on. Things are moving fast. Supply chains are getting disrupted. And so you see this pace of change increasing. And for every organization and every system, we have to figure out how to collect all the data that we have, but convert it into knowledge so we can then leverage that knowledge to empower and solve various problems within organizations. And as you all look at problems and things in your organization, every business is actually a graph, right? Like if you think about it, what does every business have? It has employees, it has suppliers, it has products, it has customers, it has finance payments and transactions and processes and all. And finally, if you map the data model behind all of these different entities within your organization, you will see it's actually a graph. And when you have all of these entities coming together, you can solve really compelling problems in your organizations. And starting from, let's take, for example, customer. And if you're building a customer graph, you can start solving things like recommendations and loyalty programs and churn prevention, whether it's products, so that's product recommendations. In supply chain, whenever you have networks of supply chain, you can do supply chain optimizations and all. So fundamentally, one key thing is graphs are a great way to represent your data within your organizations and then solving interesting problems, because that's what converts your data into knowledge, interconnections between the data that you have. And at Neo4j, we have been working on building the best graph database in the market for many, many years. If you think about it, we started in 2007, where we launched our open source community edition. 2009 was the first time we launched our enterprise edition capability. Since then, we launched Cypher as a query language. We made it Open Cypher as a project. Come down to 2024, this year, we were able to work with many people many of our peers with ISO to go ahead and standardize that as GQL. Over a period of time, we have added the distributed database capability with autonomous clustering. We added Aura, which is a fully managed database. And today I'm going to talk a lot about it because I know you all want to write code rather than try managing a database. So that's going to be the fun part of it. So we'll talk more about Aura today. We also added graph data science and multi-database capability. And then in 2024, one of the big things we did was we launched vector search last year, and then we kept enhancing the capabilities there. So over the last many years, we have been focused on giving you the best graph data platform that you could use. That includes our database, that includes our data science capability, includes our vector storage and search capability and all. And so as I look forward from here, what do I think are the main themes that we need to focus on? And there are key technology trends that are driving most of our investments. First of all, cloud computing. Every customer that I've talked to in recent times, they are deploying Neo4j in cloud. Whether they use our fully managed Aura offering or whether they are trying to install it in AWS EC2 or Google GCE, or whether it is in Azure, doesn't matter. Most deployments are going in cloud. So making sure we are the best cloud native database is big priority for us. So I think cloud computing is the first theme. The second big theme we have is data is growing in organizations, and the complexity of data is also growing within organization. We believe graphs are the best representation of this data as it comes together, but handling more and more data within our database is a big part of the focus area for us. And the last one is AI and generative AI as a technology trend is just like taking off, and I've not been in a meeting with any customer in recent times where they are not talking to me about Gen AI and how they can use it. So if you look at these three big trends, that defines what we want to be and where we want to go. So from a product vision perspective, what are we trying to be? We want to be the premium and trusted cloud native graph database and analytics platform. So fundamentally, first is that, which is cloud native being big part of it, and focusing both on graph database but also on the analytics part of it. We want to be cross cloud. So you all developers have a choice whether you want to deploy in AWS or in Azure or in GCP. You should have that choice. We want to make it super easy to use, and we want to enable AI accuracy. And AI accuracy is through various things that we'll talk about. We'll focus more on Gen AI today, but we are doing this with GDS. We're adding more algorithms so you can go ahead and get much better information in form of a vector so that you can use it in downstream systems. And then who is it for? It's for all of you developers who are trying to build applications, but we also want to support data analysts that may be working with you, or data scientists who are coming and trying to solve interesting problems. With that, the three strategic investments we have going into 2024 to 2025 is, first of all, being cloud first. So we have zero ops platform. We'll talk more details about it. Second, as I said, ease of use. So I have this theme. I want 5 seconds to sign up. I want 5 minutes to wow with your data. You should be able to get the first, experience with a graph in 5 minutes, and then 5 days to value. You should be able to build your application, show value to your organization within 5 days. And how do we do that is one big part of the puzzle. And the third one is AI accuracy with GraphRag. And trusted fundamentals, scalability, reliability, governance, compliance is part and parcel of everything we do. We have huge investment in this, and we'll continue improving that for everybody. With that, let's first talk about cloud first. What does cloud first mean? First of all, we want you all developers to actually focus on writing your app, running your app, adding business value. You shouldn't be worried about the infrastructure. And so therefore, we have our database available in all three clouds. We give you guarantees of 99.95, 3.5 nines SLA with automatic healing clustered architecture. You can scale up to almost 0.5 terabyte of RAM, and we will increase that in next coming quarters to almost 1.5 to 2 terabytes. That means your graph database size can be 4x of that or 8x of that. And I have a customer that I've worked with which has 16x of the RAM ratio for their use cases for the core database for the graph data. We do automatic backups, restores. We do automatic upgrades for you and all. So I think what I'm trying to say is, as a developer, if you focus just on building your application, you can give all the overhead of running the database back to us. We take care of it. We currently run more than 22,000 databases in Aura as a managed offering right now. One of the big things that we've done is we also want to give you various price points so that you can pick and choose where you want to go ahead and build your workload application and how you want to bring it together. So for example, we have had this amazing option for you to use, which is a free database. So which means you can use Aura free with a full capability of the core database and then use it for your use cases. You can use for learning and all. Then we have professional, which is for developers to build real applications with your own data, gives you a lot more capacity. And then we just announcing business critical edition, which is once you have built it, you want to automatically make it highly available, fault tolerant. We will help you do that with business critical edition. It's that regional failover capability, multi-zone and all that. And then virtual dedicated is for higher end use cases where you want to complete isolation from other customers of Aura. And so we create your own account and make that happen. In addition to these SKUs, one of the things we have always heard is, hey, Aura free is great, but it is not big enough for me to use and test my workload. I want to get 4 gigs or more data, and I want to try my use case out, and how do I do it? And Aura free has very big limitations on size. So for that case, we have now made our Aura Pro free trials available to you. So you can go in now in various regions. You will just be able to say, hey, I want a free trial. I want it up to 4 gigs or 8 gigs of RAM. I want to deploy the database. For first 7 days, you don't have to give us any credit card, nothing. You can start using it. And then I think you can extend it for another 7 days if required and build your application, test it. And after that, if you want to continue, you can continue on the paid side. Otherwise, you can shut it down and you will not be charged for anything. But great way to build that scaled application, test it. And this is basically try before you buy kind of a concept for you. In addition to that, as I said, business critical edition, we wanted to have an option for you all to go from, hey, application I built, now I see there is value, but my organization wants guarantees. They need high availability. They want 99.95% guarantee that this is going to be up and running and all. So we basically make that available. And it also allows you to have up to 512 gigs of RAM. So you have bigger and bigger database capability now. In addition to that, we also are making our read-only secondaries available. So let's say you build the application, now you have a highly available application and people love it and more users want to use it. You want to add one more secondary in a different, on a different machine so that you can send more traffic to that particular secondary, you can start doing that. So we can go up to 15 secondaries on the same database so that you can handle a lot more load in your real production environment. So this is a great way. You start small and then grow over time. And this is really, really good. In addition to that, last year, I had announced that we are shipping block format. It's really a great graph native format for storing our data. We have now made it available in Aura. This is basically giving almost 30% improvement, especially when you have large graphs with limited memory. This is becoming really, really valuable for our customers. And now it's available in Aura for you all to use. In addition to that, again, I had announced last year that parallel runtime was available. Parallel runtime allows you to take any query and then run it on multiple cores. So let's say if you have a 10-core machine, you can literally take one single query and distribute it across 10 cores and make it 10x faster. We have seen customers' queries improve more than 10, 20 times from a performance perspective. And then you can go up to 100 plus cores and then you can really distribute it a lot. But the main point is if you're doing global queries like, hey, go find everything in the graph or something, we can go ahead and enable that with you for really using parallel runtime. And it's available in Aura now. And the other capability that we are making it available in Aura is change data capture. So from your database, if you want to go ahead and take every change and publish it as an event on your Kafka queues, that's available. It's great for event-driven development. So any changes in your graph, as soon as a customer receives something, they want to trigger a event and then take an action on the event, send an email or something, you can do all of that out of the box. And it's integrated with your own Kafka cluster or Confluent out of the box. So you'll be able to use that. Finally, we have spent a lot of time this year and last year in solving for a lot of tricky security features. We wanted you all to be able to go to your CISO and security teams and get approval and use it. So that has enabled many organizations to start using Aura at scale. And so this includes things like customer managed encryption keys, like we have fine-grained access control, SSO, we've done private VPC and private links are available now. Customer managed encryption keys, as I said, that's really great way to lock down your data. Nobody else gets access to it. So a lot of capabilities on security front that we have added. Let's switch gears. This is cloud first, right? In Aura, fully managed offering. We have done a lot more stuff for deploying the database in cloud environments, working natively with S3 and all. But those were the big ticket items that from Aura perspective, and all the developers, please just use Aura. Don't try to go deploy the database yourself. I don't think it's worth your time. Your time is too valuable. Focus on applications, not on infrastructure. With that, how do we make you more productive? The next piece of the puzzle is we also have now got the new unified console experience for the whole product. So, in past, we had this Aura console, and then we had workspace, which was completely different and different properties and different things. And sometimes in product teams, we start shipping what we are owners for, and that's what was happening. And so we have fixed that in this year. And so we have a single unified console where you can go do everything you need to do, from workflows end to end, like creating an instance, to importing data, to like querying the data, visualizing, analyzing. Everything happens in one single framework for you now. And so you just go to the Aura console. There's a preview option at the top bar. Just click on it and start using it. It's beautiful. It brings everything together into one place. It also allows you to collaborate with your teams more easily. And it has inbuilt Gen AI copilots. I will talk a bit more about it. And you have secure data access and consistent experience across all the properties. So the most exciting thing, though, is the unified console is one place for everything you need to do with Neo4j. And here's the trick. Actually, unified console is not just for Aura. It actually works for all the properties, all your self-managed databases. You can also go remotely connect to them and use all the user tools. And we will make this experience better and better in next year. Going into next year, I want you to be able to get all the telemetry information in it. I want you to be able to monitor it, manage it, maybe also upgrade it from your self-managed to cloud database. So all that will come. But for now, at least you have one place to work with all your databases. The second thing we also launched is Gen AI Copilot. And one of the things I've heard always from users is, if you're coming new to Neo4j, now, of course, many of you are experts in Neo4j and using the system for a long time. And I don't think this may not help you much, but your peers who are just starting off, this will be a great way. Now you can just type natural language, and we leverage your schema of the database along with the natural language to generate Cypher, and then actually use it to give you great experiences on top of it. It's available both in browser and Bloom, so you can use it in both places. And then finally, NeoDash. If you haven't used NeoDash, you should. It's a great BI kind of dashboarding tool. It's available for all of you to start using. We are going to productize NeoDash and move it from labs, which is where it is today. You can continue using that. But over the next few quarters, we are going to build a dashboarding capability directly in our unified experience. So therefore, that will give you a great way to also share visualizations that you are building. Bloom is awesome, but it's for ad hoc analysis. NeoDash or dashboarding will be place where you build a predefined dashboard and share it with all your peers, show all your great work that you have done. And on the ease of use side, we also have a few more things on the developer API side of things. So we basically now have JDBC driver 6.0. It's compliant with the full JDBC spec, which is super awesome. Now you can go ahead and use it with any of the tools or ETL tools or other things that use JDBC. So this is great. And then there is an optional SQL to Cypher translation for reads and writes that's also available through it. So great thing, like if you're using JDBC, this becomes a great option for you. In addition to that, there are two more things that we made available for all of you. And this will be interesting for you. One is GraphQL. We have been supporting GraphQL for self-managed environments and all, but now you have the full GraphQL capability available in Aura directly. So if you are in Aura, now you'll be able to use GraphQL out of the box. You don't have to deploy anything. You don't have to install anything on your site. You can just start building applications with it. And finally, many people have told us, many users have told us, they would love to have a basic HTTPS-based protocol so that they can just start sending Cypher in and start using the database. Why do I have to go through some other translation layers and all? So Query API is exactly that. In Aura now, you have an HTTPS endpoint where you can start submitting Cypher, start interacting with database. So if you have a web kind of an application, this is a great way for communicating with the database. So that's all ease of use, right? Ease of use, not just in the experience, the user tools, the Gen AI copilots, but also everything that we wanted to bring from developer experience perspective. We have spent a lot of time on VS Code improvement. We'll continue to do that. And there are a lot more things coming in coming months on many of the experience. Like we are working on the CLI. You will have a full-fledged CLI across Neo4j for Aura and non-Aura use cases and all. So a lot more coming there, but that was the core of it. And finally, let's talk about AI, which is top of mind for many users. AI, especially generative AI, is going to drive $1.3 trillion in revenue by 2032. However, 71% of users, organizations I have talked to, but also the research that has come out of various other places, 70+% of the organizations are stuck in piloting and they haven't gone to actual production. And we want to make sure that we help customers be successful with Gen AI projects. And one of the biggest challenges for this is it's the left brain, right brain problem, right? I think Gen AI platforms like LLMs are really good at language understanding, statistics, and creativity. What they lack is the knowledge, facts, and context. As I started the whole thing in the beginning of the talk, which was we help organizations and developers convert data into knowledge. And that's exactly the point. Like large language models just don't have that ability to have the knowledge, especially the knowledge from the enterprise. And I think the key thing is by bringing these two worlds together through RAG and especially Graph RAG, we can help every application that needs to go in production improve accuracy and all. And so Graph RAG is a great way of building Gen AI applications. But what is Graph RAG? Like let's bring it down to a simple definition of it. Graph RAG is RAG application, right? Retrieval augmented generation, where retrieval or R path includes a knowledge graph. So if you can convert your enterprise information into a knowledge graph and use that for extracting answers, that's going to be way better model than using just vector-based solution or some other kind of a database. And because of the flexible schema that Neo4j has, you can have a very rich knowledge graph to power your applications. So that's what it is. There has been a lot of research going on in this world. There are three key benefits that I see because of using knowledge graphs with large language models. Number one is accuracy. 3 times more accuracy you will get out of the box by using knowledge graphs instead of using just pure vector-based RAG kind of a solution. And I think there are good articles on that all over the web. The second is Graph RAG. By using knowledge graphs, it makes your system less opaque. If you think about vectors and just vectorizing some unstructured data into the database, it's going to look like this. It's ones and zeros and all. The problem is you don't understand that. No human can understand what is in it. So it works great for similarity searches, but it falls over as soon as there's a problem and you're trying to go ahead and debug a problem. So having a graph or entity representation becomes really, really valuable for debugging stuff. And it's pretty clear, right? Like there is this explicit relationships that you have, which is what we do in knowledge graphs. And then there is implicit subsymbolic relationships. That's where vectors actually play a great role. And by bringing this capability together of having one database that has both knowledge graphs and vectors together in one place, we can give you best of both worlds. A great example of this was I was actually listening to one of the podcasts, and a CPO, CTO at Spotify was giving an example of vector, and they were saying vectors we have been using for a very long time. And the example they gave actually stuck with me. His thing was, and I'm a big Spotify fan, by the way, I've been using it for a while. But the example they gave was like, let's say I'm listening to a country music song, and then the next recommendation comes on a vector search. If they say, what are the similar songs on it? They would get like a bunch of them and then can recommend. In that scenario, some of them could be pop, some of them could be completely different genre, but vectors don't understand genre. So how are they going to go filter things to the right things I am interested in? And so this is where they got a company that actually had metadata about the songs. And once they started applying that metadata to filter things down, they got real better accuracy in recommendations. Example, like, and this is basically just a example I heard, and I was like, that's exactly the reason bringing graphs with the metadata information and the vector search together, I think adds a lot of value. And so that's why I think it's huge advantage in that simplicity of development and going through that whole process. And finally, explainability and governance. Like, it's super important. Once you give an answer, you have to be able to justify why did you give it. A pure vector search will give you some answer, but it won't be able to explain what were the key entities, who's the person, what's the phone number that they had, or in many cases, correlating all the information along with it is going to be super valuable. And so that's why if you look at it, the three key benefits you get by GraphRag is higher accuracy, easier development, and explainability and governance. And over the last 1.5 years, we have been investing heavily in making our platform ready for Gen AI applications. This started with like providing support for vectors, but integrating with all three cloud platforms, which are providing large language models, whether it's Azure OpenAI, Google Vertex AI, whether it's Bedrock on AWS. We also integrated with all the Gen AI frameworks, things like LangChain and Llama Index and everybody, right? So over the last year, you've seen almost every month to 2 months, we have some kind of a launch going on it. And we have been doing these investment in three categories, if you look at it. One is we want the best Gen AI ready database. So great support for vectors, real-time database integration with all the large language model platforms. So from Neo4j database, you can call out to a large language model, send some text, do the summarization, get it back, convert it into vector, and store it in the database. You can do all of that out of the database itself. And then, of course, we are looking at integrating external vector stores, because some customers do want to use the external vector store. So we're going to make that available as part of our integration point. Integrated ecosystem is where Neo4j, we are launching our GraphRag Python package. Let me talk a bit more about that. But we have been integrating with all the other platforms, as you see. And then co-pilots, I just showed you one, text to cipher model, and a couple of other things that we are working on. So the one big thing that I want to talk about is we have seen a lot of people use LangChain, Llama Index and all, and where we realized there was a gap was having a rich Python package for constructing knowledge graphs, implementing GraphRag retrievers was going to be super valuable to all of you. And especially for our users and our developers and everybody at Nodes, this is going to be a game changer. You can now use our Python package to quickly build Gen AI applications using Neo4j, and this will be highly optimized for GraphRag kind of patterns. And then finally, we basically also have built this whole graph builder, or I call it GraphRag implementation. You basically can go ahead and use a tool called Graph Builder, where you can take any unstructured data, convert it into your graph, and then start doing Q&A. And the whole idea here is it's a tool for you to learn from. We are open sourcing the code base. So your first Gen AI application, if you want to build the whole thing, you have the code base available to get started. You can test it and immediately start building it and working with it. And finally, one of the other things that we are working on, and this will be available soon. I think I forgot to fix my now available to available soon. This is basically text to cipher model. So many of you have told us like, hey, it would be good to expose the text to cipher model that we are using, so you will build it into your application. So we are going to make it available on different platforms, and watch out for some blogs going out in the next couple of weeks on how did we build it, what training data did we use, how are we planning to go ahead and validate which model is the best model. We have seen different model performances and all that, and then we'll have something available for everybody. And then finally, one of the other things that we are working on is, as you add more and more vectors into the database, we realize that you need a much, much bigger capacity to store these vectors, store large graph sizes, not just in single digit terabytes, but hundreds of terabytes of storage in the database. And so this is one big area of investment for us in going into 2025, wherein we want to remove the limits of how much data you can store in Neo4j and use it more efficiently. So wait out for this one. You'll be able to access it and give us more feedback soon on that piece of the puzzle. Other than that, thanks to all of you. We are the #1 and most popular graph database in the industry. Thanks for all your support. Thanks for all your feedback. We are also recognized as a visionary by industry analysts. And then finally, because of all of you, we have 1,700 plus customers worldwide using graph technology for various different use cases. I hope you enjoy Nodes and get to see how other folks are using graph for solving different problems. Thank you. Thanks a lot and enjoy everybody. Thank you.